Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to answer some viewer questions, specifically, how long do you stay on a weight? This question comes to us from RT Pim Apex, great name, buddy. And the question was, how long do you stay on a weight? You're moving from 4 sets of 5 to 6 sets of 5. The question is, until you can do the reps comfortably. And the answer is yes, but the answer is also no. And that's a classic Mark Wildman answer. Some schools of thought tell people to repeat something over and over and over again. A classic strategy is to do, say, 10 sets of 10 with a kettlebell for the two-hand swing for X number of weeks and then move on from there. The great thing about that strategy is that nothing changes, so it's very hard to mess that strategy up. You can tell it to somebody in 2 sentences and they can work on it and get athletic benefit out of it. It is a brilliant, simple strategy which works very well for training large groups of people with the minimum amount of coaching time put in. I tend not to do that because I'm much more complicated. Instead of starting at 10 sets of 10, I would have people start at 6 sets of 10, go 8 sets of 10, 10 sets of 10, 12 sets of 10, and I would have them walk up. I would have them do volume cycles because volume cycles change a little bit every time. So people have just a small amount more demand. I'm usually looking for like 5 to 7% demand change, but that can be different based on the numbers and based on all these other things. It's also based on what's the easiest thing to change and how long we have to get to our goal. Everything is always an engineering equation. 2 main things we have to think about here. When can you move on? If you completed the reps comfortably, then move on. Comfortably meaning the last set might have been rough or something like that. If you're doing 4 sets of 5, then the 4th set should get a little bit weird, but it should be accomplished without dropping it on your toes or doing anything weird. Failure is bad, and that's the second question. If you completed it with bad form or you failed, the answer is the same. You change your strategy. How do we change our strategy? We can change the number of reps and match the volume. That is a very classic way of changing our strategy. If we had 4 sets of 5 and we were trying to get to 6 sets of 5, we would understand how many reps we were doing on each side and find another way to do the same number of reps, or most likely more. 4 times 5 is 20. On both sides is 20 and 20. So let's just talk about it as if it's 20. 80% of 5 is 4. 60% of 5 is 3. If we had 4 sets of 5 and we were not finishing comfortably, if it was really ugly, if our form was really ugly, or we were very near failure, or we actually did fail, then we would change this. If you actually did fail, I would go to sets of 3. I would take it down from that 5 considered 100% to 3 considered 60%. And then I would match the volume. 7 sets of 3, 7 times 3 is 21. And instead of doing 4 sets of 5, I would do 7 sets of 3. It should be 60% of the intensity that caused you to fail, so you should be able to survive that. And you could adjust this number down to below that if you want to warm back up into it to neurologically get back on track. If you finished it but it was ugly instead of failure, then you probably go to the 80%. And just flip the numbers here. 4 times 5 is 20, 5 times 4 is 20. And then you would start a new volume cycle and you would walk it up to a specific thing. I would think probably 10 sets of 4 and then go back to 4 sets of 5 and start your volume cycle over. So think about this in a different way. If we had our volume and we had 4 sets of 5 and we had our plan going on, what we would do is interject a new plan in the middle to solve the problem. We just made the volume cycle that existed longer. We didn't throw it away. We went and we inserted either a 60% or an 80% strategy in the middle there, and then we came back and picked it up again and started over and continued on with that goal. But this becomes its own sub-goal to get around the problem. You can always find a way to train around the problem. This is what good trainers should be doing. They should be starting at a certain point, moving towards a goal, and anytime we have a problem, you should have a solution for that problem right off the top of your head, an alternate strategy. This is one of many alternate strategies that you could do, but this one is fairly simple to understand and it's readily apparent. The way you figure it out is by doing basic math. Wherever you failed, you figure out the amount of volume that you're doing, and then you find an easier way to do that volume by changing the number of sets and the number of reps. It could be lower than that, it could be sets of 2. It's up to you. There's other strategies that you could do as well. You could jump weight, which is something that requires more equipment, so that's a piece of information that you have to have. If you have more weight, then you can do the same thing, and instead of doing it based on the number of reps, you would do it based on the weight times the number of reps, and you would figure it out that way. If that's not clear, ask me and I'll make another video on that. I hope we answered this question. How long do you stay on a weight? You don't. You move on in some way. I don't repeat workouts because there are so many ways to accomplish a task. There's no point in psychologically slamming your head into a wall and repeating something over and over and over again and failing. We don't want to learn to fail. We want to learn to come up with a new strategy to succeed. It's a weird neurological trick, but it's very important when training, especially new athletes. People are very afraid of being bad, and if they approach failure and it gets ugly or they lose it somewhere in whatever lift this is applying to, then that causes a training scar, for lack of a better term. So we want to then change it so that people can continue to be successful and then get over the problem without even knowing that they're doing it. This is a trainer trick, and this is something that you can apply in your own training. You shouldn't be beating your head against a wall. You should find a way to succeed.